meaning the ability to not be in your own emotions or perceptions or judgments and to really see the other being. Because otherwise, it's really easy to do things like assume you know what the animals be in a field of rescue horses, and the horse would be behind him, and he would say, now the horse is going to put his head on my right shoulder. And the next, and with the horse behind him, right? And the next thing to do, the horse would put his head on his right shoulder. So now that he was want to invite your wonderful listeners to go to our website and get some free gifts. So you can go to thehumananimalconnection.org, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and you'll see there are several free gifts, and you can choose whichever one you like, or all of them.
We're diving into one of my favorite topics, the real language of the heart between humans and animals. My guest is someone who's been living this truth for decades. Dr. Genie Joseph is the executive director of the Human Animal Connection, a nonprofit dedicated to reducing stress and building empathy through the healing power of animals. She's a therapy dog trainer, author, and award-winning humanitarian who's worked with more than 4,000 service members and their families, helping them reconnect to peace and purpose through their bond with dogs. She even received the President's Volunteer Service Award from President Obama for her extraordinary work. Through programs like Canines Teach Compassion and her hands-on training with therapy animals, Genie has shown how deeply animals understand us and how, when we really listen, they can help us heal. Today, we'll be exploring how to understand what your pets truly need, how to communicate with animals on a deeper level, how to recognize and heal trauma in our furry companions, and yes, even the mystery of telepathic animal communication. So settle in with your animal friend. This is going to be a heart-opening, soul-level conversation. Hello, everyone. I have Genie Joseph here, and she is from the animal. Here we go. I'm going to put the ticker tape up. Director of the animal.
The Human Animal Connection.
See, I've gotten dyslexia and I just can't have a hard time reading. Anyway, it takes me a long time. But I do have, I'm really happy we're able to talk today because my viewers are very, very astute in the mysteries of animal communication. And I have studied it with Beatrice Leidecker, Penelope Smith, Irene Pepperberg, because I had an African Great Dane. And so, and I also read the book Strong Heart.
Yes.
And you, I think you reference it in your book.
Yes, I do.
Because that's a dog trainer who was trained by a dog.
Yeah.
And he became quite prolific and in the movies. Yeah. So I just love it. And I would like to start out because I just discovered that you have a fundraiser going on. And so it's an organization that for the support of all animals, but we mostly dogs. And the one thing you do in your book is you say, I always say dog, but it means horses, llamas, pigs, cats, everything. I love that. I love that so much. So tell us what's going on with the fundraiser for you.
So we're the Human Animal Connection. We're a nonprofit organization, and people can donate to us by going to thehumananimalconnection.org. Make sure you put the in, or I'll take you someplace else. But so we have our Giving Tuesday yearly campaign, and we also have Donkey Christmas, which is celebrating our therapy donkeys. And if your listeners haven't heard about therapy donkeys, I'm sure we'll tell that whole story about how donkeys are incredible at the work of therapy because they have an innate sense of safety and curiosity. And so those combined things is very healthy because when people have been traumatized, one of the things they lose is a sense of safety. And working with donkeys, they can reconnect with how donkeys will only take one step if it feels good to them. And in a healthy individual, they move towards what feels safe and good and away from what feels bad and not safe. And what happens in trauma is that natural animal instinct gets messed with, whether it's human trauma, animal trauma. That natural towards and away gets messed with, where people can't feel what is really true and safe. And instead, what happens is they orient towards what's familiar. And so this is why people who've been in, abusive relationships, you could move them across country and 6 months later they're in the same relationship, different person, same dynamic, because they're moving not towards what's safe and good for them, but what's familiar. And this is what we help people to get back online, is their natural sense of towards and away. And working with the donkeys, sometimes in just one session, we can help people really reconnect with their innate biological sense of what feels good and safe by connecting with their body. And in trauma, people get disconnected from their bodies, disconnected from their sense, because their impulses have been overridden by someone else. And so this is why therapy donkeys are so amazing and powerful. I mean, all animals can be healing animals, but therapy donkeys, they really have something special to add to the process.
Oh, wow. I've always tried to practice animal communication. I ranch sat, and there were 2 donkeys, or 3 donkeys that I was taking care of, and I was trying to connect and everything. And it was like, they did not want to connect with me.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing, but I was just running around. I was just new.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why, because I was new to the.
Well, they are so sensitive to energy. One day, I had to go somewhere, and I was rushing to actually the dog parade, and I left my house. I couldn't remember if I'd given the donkeys water. Couldn't remember I left the water on. Rushed home, rushed into the yard, and I had just been there 10 minutes ago. They took one look at me and they ran. You know what I mean? I'm the person who brings them food, but they did not like that energy that I was bringing into the yard. You know what I mean? So even though they knew I was the trusted food giving person, they wanted nothing to do with my energy. And if you're paying attention, it can really help you recognize, oh, you know what? I'm a little kooky right now. I was just in that whole, I'm late, I got to get somewhere. I realized this is really dumb. It's not good for them. It's not good for me. What's the difference if I get there 10 minutes later? I'll get there,
Yeah. But the self-awareness is a lot, because I was at the Dolphin Research Center, or the lab. I took a lab there and learned about the communication, and the idea of anthropomorphizing things came up. And you put it in the book.
Yeah.
You address it in the book.
Yeah.
And and I took some classes, and I had a little bit of difficulty when we went around each person. When they read their animal, they were saying, oh, this cat is holding a grudge, or is angry, and things like that. But I'm thinking, I wonder if they just the recipient wanted to feel unique and close, and I don't know. So I had a little trouble, but that part in the book that you mentioned really helps, because it brings self-awareness. Am I being judgmental? Is that why I think my cat is judgmental?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, animal communication requires a tremendous amount of neutrality, meaning the ability to not be in your own emotions or perceptions or judgments, and to really see the other being, because otherwise it's really easy to do things like assume what the animal's feeling, or say the animal's angry. Well, I don't know that the animal's angry. We need to really be able to listen with clarity, just like in human communication. If I call you up and you don't answer, I go, oh, she's mad at me. I must have done something wrong. I could go through this whole crazy stuff, right? But it's probably not true, right? It's probably not true. So animal communication step 1 is to be present, meaning that you're really here, right here and now, and that you're clear, you're neutral. If you are saying things like, oh, this animal's holding a grudge, you're probably not talking to the animal. You're probably making an assumption based upon perhaps some of your own experiences. And this is what makes the art of animal communication a lifelong journey, because we have to learn how to get out of our own perceptions to really see another being clearly. And when we do, it's beautiful, because we're not imposing our concepts or our judgments or opinions on animals. We're really just there to hear what they have to say.
Right.
And what they have to say is often fascinating. It's often not what we expect. Yeah.
You mentioned that a lot. When you connect, you're getting information that you would have had no way to know.
oftentimes it's just, what? And it's fun,
It
it's
is.
delightful. It's delightful.
It's wonderful. And then you have that feedback from the owner that that was true, that unique little bit.
Yeah.
The the first step on the 4-step when you start animal communication is acknowledging that you are an intuitive human being, a
Yeah.
person. And all of the people who gravitate to my channel
Yeah.
have acknowledged that. And accept, the second step is accept that your way is right for you. Don't waste time comparing yourself to others. Everyone's intuition works differently.
Yes.
I
Yes.
really appreciate that. Even though when we
Yes.
start with all of this, we need a protocol. We need
Hmm.
not so much a ritual, but a protocol. That
Hmm.
tell me more about that. When
Yeah.
you recognize it.
Yeah. Well, we are animals, right? We're humans. We're animal humans. And we are intuitive, but our society often kind of trains us out of that, trains us out of trusting it, I should say. So it gets a little, we doubt it. We doubt, am I really talking to the animal? And over time, when you've had enough genuine conversations, you realize you really are. And you can begin to feel the difference between thoughts that are information that you're receiving versus information that you're sending. And this is a really important distinction, because if I'm saying, oh, this cat is angry or something like that, to use that example, it's probably not coming from the cat, because that's just not how a cat explains their feelings.
Yeah,
It's not cat talk, that's human
that's not,
talk.
yeah, right.
I mean, it's not to say that cats don't have angry feelings, but it's just they have a different way. They're different. It's just a different tone. It's like you have friends that you talk to, and you can trust what they say, and other friends you're not quite so sure if they're telling you the real thing. So it's the same thing with animals. And so we can learn to trust over time when we get out of the way, when our intention is to just really listen and hear clearly to be helpful.
Oh, wow. I was just listening to Lee Harris last night. He's a channeler, and he was communicating with his guide, but he didn't know it was his guide. In his imagination, the example he gave was, I met up my partner because he did this, whatever it is. And then the guide came in and spoke to him clearly. I understand your feelings, but you're dead wrong. So I'm hoping that because I want to get better at this. I've been
Yeah.
practicing it and I haven't stepped forward really in any great stride, but your book
Yeah.
really helped me.
Oh,
Um,
good.
but
Good.
I'd love it to have my dog say, no, you're dead wrong. I'm not angry.
Oh,
Or
uh-huh.
I am angry. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's another, the step 3 is focus on the difference in sensation between sending and receiving.
Right.
That helps you recognize the difference between intuitive communication and your own internal thought process. You touched on that. Are you saying that I could feel sensations on my body when I connect?
Yes, you might. I mean, this is where it comes into everybody communicates in ways that are unique to them. So some people are going to hear words. I hear words. Some people are going to see images. I sometimes see images. Some people are going to feel sensations in the body. And one is not better than another. They're all good, so
Okay.
and as one develops in animal communication, we tend to open up more of our senses. We may start with our preferred sense or our most accessible sense, but ultimately we want to continue to expand that. So it's really important. I had, when I study also with Penelope Smith, but I had in my early training, I studied with a man who was so good. I mean, he was so good. I was intimidated, like I'll never be as good. James French from the trust technique,
Oh,
and
oh,
I was like, oh, what he could say, like we would go be in a field of rescue horses, and the horse would be behind him, and he would say, now the horse is going to put his head on my right shoulder. And with the horse behind him, right? And the next thing to do, the horse would put his head on his right shoulder. So now that he was seeing ahead, you know what I mean? And I was like so intimidated. It took me a long time to
it's
recognize
called,
it.
It's called the trust process
The trust technique.
technique.
And yeah, and thank you for quoting from my book. Debra was quoting from my book, The Human Animal Connection.
Yeah.
And there I give some basic information about how to begin to trust yourself to
Mhm.
communicate with animals. And it all begins with having a practice of peacefulness. Okay, because if you're not peaceful, you're going to simply be spinning in your own head, right? So we have to
Mhm.
get into our kind of centered state to be more in order to connect with animals because they are on that realm. And you know how dogs, when they meet you, they know instantly. They decide they like you, they don't like you, you're safe, you're not safe. It's just instant knowingness. And
Mhm.
this is something that we deserve to have too. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we had that same instinct and someone tried to sell us something and we just knew right away, no, this is not for me, or yes, this is for me, or whatever. And animals have that. And that is part of the skill in animal communication is to be connected to that innate sense of truth. And truth, not in any kind of judgmental way, but just in the sense of it rings true. Like, you know, when somebody tells you something, a friend or something, and you can feel, yeah, that rings true. Or, you know, no, they're not telling me something, you know, maybe they don't,
Mhm.
it doesn't have, you may not know the reason, but it just doesn't feel like you're getting the whole story, you know?
Yeah.
And so that it's that quality of truthfulness has a frequency, I believe, of energy. And that's what we're tuning into with animals.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's great. That is great. The step 4 is you just said it, listen with your whole body, not just your
Yeah.
physical ears. I think that's wonderful. And there's one other thing, and then I'm gonna I had these priorities.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah,
so I'm kind of starstruck.
that's
But
okay.
your friend Leilani in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about signs because I do numbers
Oh,
and
yes, yes.
we run around and why do I see this? Why do she looks up
Mm-hmm.
at the clouds,
Right.
and if the clouds form into a certain animal, she will study that animal or right.
Well, she will tune in and recognize, okay, there's the turtle. Okay, what is the turtle telling me? I need to slow down, or whatever it is. You know, yeah, in the Hawaiian tradition. Signs are everywhere, all throughout all of nature. So, talking to animals, talking to trees, watching clouds, getting messages. This is part of that tradition in many indigenous cultures. And I watch clouds, you know, now from having had that. You know, I lived in Hawaii for 25 years, and I pay attention to the clouds. I just know I may not know everything that someone who's been doing it their whole life knows, but I at least get, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I say thank you because I realize that something is being shown to me, something is being offered, whether or not I get it, you know, but it's beautiful when you recognize that the universe is communicating to us in so many ways through the trees, through the flowers. I have
Mhm.
this one, my dog, well, I have this one signal from the universe, little wild yellow flowers, you know, kind of like daisies, but wild
Uh-huh.
little. And I was once way off in the desert in Patagonia in Arizona. It was just a barren field, nothing for miles. My little dog walks over, you know, about 50 feet away from me. And I'm thinking, why is she walking over there? And I go over and find there's these little yellow flowers, which she pees on. So she would pee on these little, she would stop in the middle of nowhere and pee on little yellow flowers. And this is a sign for me to just really tune in, you know, to,
Right, exactly.
and so sometimes we can have these wonderful little systems like you have with numbers, you know, where you
Mhm.
really, if you're paying attention, all of a sudden you see 444 and you go, okay, or whatever it is, you know,
Yeah.
111, you know,
And
it's,
we try to tie the connection. And one of the things with numbers, I like to say for people who are new here, and thank you if you are new
mm,
watching me, is that you can put your own in the moment. You can put your own impression on
mm-hmm.
that number. You can look it up later or whatever,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
no,
you are an individual,
yes, right.
intuitive person, just like
And
what.
and we really encourage that, like when people have heard about power animals, which are spirit guides and animals, and you know, not to just look it up in a book. You know, your leopard may be different from my leopard. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so there isn't just one meaning. Often, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's useful if you're a researcher and you want to look things up, but don't assume because somebody else said something that that's the true for you. It may or may not be. If it's useful to you to look it up, great. But don't get hung up in thinking that it only has one meaning. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not spirit saying, "Oh, look the meaning up later. I want to talk to you now.
Right, exactly. I might miss it.
And there's one more thing I need to talk to you about. It was the story about the woman in Afghanistan, the soldier in
Yeah,
Afghanistan,
yeah,
who was in a village and felt that there was something wrong.
right,
Something's
right.
not right. And what she did with her detail mind, which sometimes my mind goes too quick for, and this is
Uh-huh.
what I'm going to work on. She noticed there weren't any children or animals
Right,
around her,
right, right,
and she
right.
left, and it was wrong.
Yes, yes, yes. There weren't any stray dogs. There weren't any children, and this was just the slightest little difference. Had she not been paying attention, she would have missed it. But she paid attention to these subtle nuances, and it was interesting. The reason why she told me the story is we were talking about imagination, and she says, "Well, I have no imagination, and I have no intuition. Both," she said. "I don't have any, because she wanted to learn this stuff, but she said I don't have any imagination, or intuition." She told me the story. I said, "Oh boy, do you ever! This is what saved your life." And so a lot of us were taught that our imagination is not as good as our logic. And, my mother had dementia, so I love the logical, linear, executive brain. It's a wonderful thing, but it can't take the place of our intuition, our imagination, our inner knowingness. So we need to reconnect with that to find a balance where there are some things where our logical mind is the best choice for solving a problem. And there are situations where no amount of thinking is going to get us out of the loop. The only way out is through, which is through going in deeper, like in a shamanistic sense of going deeper into the core of the earth and listening, being peaceful. And in silence, all answers can be heard.
Oh, I love that statement. That is such a great statement. Everyone has the ability to have the logical mind and intuition. And there was a person I studied, and I'll put her name in the show notes. I forgot her name, but she's a witch.
Uh-huh.
And she was teaching intuition and things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a constant learner, and she summed it up like this: where a woman's body knows how to grow a baby. You
Uh-huh.
don't have to go to school. You don't have
Right.
to practice. You
Yeah.
don't have to do anything. It already knows. And that's what intuition is inside every human.
That's right. That's right. Inside everyone, men and women, although women are a little more encouraged than men in our society, but all beings, animal and human animal, are intuitive by nature. We just have to get out of the way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
intuition is such a wonderful realm, because it's so gentle and so sweet and so true and so kind, not like the rest of the world, which is not always like
It's
that.
so true.
you
I,
know?
and that's what I do when I teach people, because how to do readings and things like that, is that you need your imagination to get to your intuition.
Imagination opens the door.
Door.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
So
then,
that's the first step for people who are just beginning, is to just imagine. And all you do is just look at that cloud and say, if that cloud were talking, what would it be saying? And then just listen. And just practice. Take an imagination exercise every day. If that flower could talk, what is it saying to me? If that tree had a voice, what would I hear?
yeah,
Because there's no right or wrong. It doesn't matter what you get. No one's going to judge you. You're not going to get an A on the test. It's just
I love that.
opening that door, and that is the door that opens this whole realm of magnificence.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. I'm gonna,
I'd love to tell you this really fun story. One of my mentors told me when she was an animal communicator from childhood, but she was learning, and so she was early in her official learning. And she had a pet rabbit, and she had been talking to other animals, and she had been doing professional animal communication just early in her career, and she wanted to talk to her rabbit. And she went up to her rabbit and she said, "Hey, can we have a conversation?" And the rabbit said, "I'm a philosopher. You're not at my level. Go back and study." And this This is after she'd been talking to a bunch of animals. I think she was teaching classes at this point. I mean, it was like, so she goes, 6 months, she goes study some more. 6 months later, she comes back. The rabbit says the same thing. Rabbit's name was Spot, by the way, Spot, a black and white rabbit. And Rabbit says, same thing. I'm a philosopher. You're not at my level. Go back and stay. This goes on, right? 2 years. She comes back and he says, okay, we're going to write a book together. And he narrated a book to her. This very sophisticated philosophy. Wow. And he had been, I think it was in, I'm just trying to think of the country. He was a monk in one of those countries. He was a philosopher. Tibet. He was, Tibet. I think it was Tibet. But he chose to come in and have a life as a rabbit, so there's really interesting, we sometimes underestimate animals, not us, but the rest of the world underestimates animals and thinks they're kind of just, meat or something, but they have inner lives. They have opinions, they have emotions, they have thoughts, they have feelings, and they have a very rich world. And it's really interesting when you hear a story of someone who had a very evolved life. I mean, he was a peaceful monk and, very evolved, and he chose to come in next time as a rabbit. And it's so interesting. So the next rabbit you see,
Are you a monk from Tibet?
Yeah, really, or whatever. Most of them aren't. But the fact is that you just never know. Like one of my clients has a rescue puppy mill dog who, when we first started working, the dog was not able to leave the bed. As if. But it wasn't a physical injury, because she would see when she wasn't in the room, the dog would jump and play around. So, but this dog, it appears to have a very narrow life. This dog, like spending 90% of the time in bed. But now she can go out. Now she can do things. But she will often take us on these journeys that are so profound. That are so rich in experience. That is just like. It's amazing. And this is not a dog that has what, all her friends told her, you should give this dog up. This is not a life. Dog doesn't do anything, but this dog, and Sophie, the dog, says to us all the time, I have a very rich inner life. Don't worry about me,
Exactly. That's what my first book from Beatrice Leidecker was feeling. I think it was Beatrice. And she was telling a story exactly like that. She was lounging somewhere, and then she suddenly felt bad for her dog, because I should be walking you, I should be doing something with you, but he just came back with all the things she hadn't noticed in the backyard.
Oh.
He came back saying, "Oh no, you have no idea this rich inner life."
Yes.
And so I had heard that. Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. It's just amazing. And so that's why this philosopher would choose to have a lifetime as a rabbit, because to have that life so close to the ground and in such a sensory world, and, to the absence of the kind of thinking maybe that he had in his other life. I don't know. It's just very fascinating. We just never know unless we connect, so to have an assumption about an animal is not wise, because they were probably wrong.
Right. There's several really good advisors in my community, and Donna Marie and Sarah Hibiscus Healings. I can't remember the third person. I'm so sorry if you're listening. In that video, there was a question that came in. It says, tell me why my cat, or let's see, what was it? Had a life as a leopard or something like that. Right. That kind of thing. Tell about his past life as this wild animal. And both Donna Marie and Sarah got that it didn't understand, because it was shot in a past life, and it couldn't reconcile the anger from the human to this. Actually, it was a human being. They were saying my past life that's what it was, past life as a leopard. And so usually the human doesn't go back into this. Very, very rare. But the reason why was given through these really talented advisors was that he wanted to reconcile and understand why he was shot, why they were angry, And so to reconcile with that, the only way to do that is to become a human. And that's why the life is human.
Yeah, I think it is rare that people go from human to animal. It's more often you see animal to human, but it does happen, and again, it just shows us that there's no absolutes in this realm, that there's a lot of unique variations. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a story in your book, Love Beyond Words. It's Principle 6. And it was about a dog named Mr. T. Suddenly had trouble walking. The veterinarians had no explanation of why his back legs weren't able to bear his weight. Did you want to share this story?
Yeah, so the horses in the barn began almost like giving him a chiropractic adjustment with their noses, and the same. I can't remember if it was one horse or more than one horse, but every time they would just touch this dog in the same place, It went on for a couple of days, I think, and then the dog was fine.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. Yeah. And when I lived in Hawaii, they used to allow you to interact with the elephants. And a friend of mine had had breast cancer and had surgery, and she had been in pain still. And this elephant was just nuzzling her, like literally like massaging that breast area. And the zookeepers were so worried because they thought it looked a little too intense, But after that, she never had pain again. Yeah.
I love that story.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's the same way at the Dolphin Research Center that I took a lab at. There was a dolphin there was people swimming with the dolphins. Of course, that's what we helped facilitate. And there was one dolphin that stayed around this woman's belly, pushing on the belly, of course. And so she was laughing, and they were really perplexed. The trainers were really perplexed. I don't understand what's going on. They did actually understand what was going on, but they didn't want to be the first to say it because they sensed a pregnancy.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she finally said, I was going to wait till tonight to tell my husband, but.
Yeah. I know, it's amazing. I mean, there was this one dog, was a stray dog, but worked in a rural clinic in Hawaii. And this dog always knew when people were pregnant. And this was a clinic, had no funding. They couldn't get pregnancy tests. They just brought the dog in, and the dog always knew who was pregnant. And animals will have specialties. Like they'll have, some dogs are good at doing a lot of things, and some goods are good at knowing who's pregnant or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's the cat. I read the book about the cat in the nursing home.
Yes, the cat named Oscar. Yes.
Oscar.
Oscar was a feral stray cat in a nursing home. He was not a cat that liked to be petted. You could leave him a treat, he'd take the treat, but he had no interest in humans really, except when people were dying. He was in a nursing home, and anywhere from 2 to 3 hours before the person was going to pass. And these were people who were in, final stages, but just a few hours before they were going to pass, Oscar would go sit on their bed with them. And it was so reliable that the staff could call the family and say, it's time to come, Oscar's with your mom, and he was right. There were over 50 documented cases of him being accurate. Mm-hmm. And, it's, some people have different theories. Oh, death smells a certain way or whatever. And I don't know, maybe that's true too, but I think it's more than that. I think there's a knowingness. And that was this cat's specialty, was to feel death. And he would be there and stay cuddled, and would nurture, be right next to the person, and was not ever interested in cuddling any other time. So that's why I think it's more than just the smell of death, which is what some people have suggested that story. Right. But the doctor wrote a book about it. It's called Oscar. I forget the name of the book, but it's Oscar something. Oscar Knows or something.
Yeah, or he's being trained by Oscar, because he didn't believe in any of this. But he didn't believe any of this. All the nurses did.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
And and I had a dog named Oscar. This is a dog story named Oscar. When I was working with the military, I was teaching a class. We used, it was called Act Resilient, and we used improv comedy and laughter and theater games to help soldiers who were hospitalized with PTSD. Mm. And I brought in Oscar, who was a rescue. He had been literally a prisoner of war in Hawaii. They had these dogs that they would force to be pig hunters. So they were, would starve them to make them more aggressive. So Oscar had scars all over his body, a pit bull, missing teeth. He just looked like he'd been to the war, right? And he was he was in a kill shelter, and it was like his last couple of days, and I adopted him, and he was the most fabulous therapy dog. Like even with a life of trauma, he had, or maybe because of the life of trauma, he had the sensitivity that was amazing. And he could sit, I'd bring him in, he'd sit with a room full of soldiers, he'd say hello to each one. He would know if someone was scared, he would just pass them up. But he would go and do what's called an alert. He would sit right in front of the person who was suicidal. And this was the very early days of the war, before anyone was, or not, most people were not talking about suicide, and soldiers didn't want to admit they were suicidal because they didn't want to risk their military career. But Oscar always knew, he just could tell. And it's just amazing. And then Oscar would work with children, and he would know who needed the help right then and there, So it's amazing sometimes when you meet a really gifted therapy dog, when they have a special set of skills where they can know humans more than we know. They see each other. And with my donkeys, my therapy donkeys, Rosie and Lily, we had a woman who was severely disabled. She was 22, in a wheelchair, didn't talk, couldn't tell what she could really receive, because she didn't really make eye contact. And she had a lot of outbursts, like flapping motions and loud outbursts. And I thought, I wonder how this is going to go with the donkeys, because usually we don't want people to do that kind of wild, erratic, and loud and sudden behavior. It took the donkeys about 15 minutes to get used to her wheelchair. But after that, they just sat with her for the entire session. And her parents said they'd never seen their daughter so peaceful. And it was like the donkeys were protecting her. And it really taught me something, because I was like, oh, what am I doing? I had all these thoughts, how am I going to handle, what can I do? Is this session going to be of any use? All this crap, but I just realized what the donkey didn't see her disabilities. They didn't see her behavior. They saw her essence. And that was what they stayed with. And they just were with her and let her clumsily pet them. And they just saw who she was beyond her appearance. And it's like, wow.
That is so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Gosh.
It is.
I love that. That's a great story, Ed. And you did say in your book, you said, for me, I often get a feeling of what I call a data download in one flash.
Mm-hmm.
You receive a ton of information.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that feel like to you? What is it? What happens?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So like in normal sort of human discourse, there's a sort of language or syntax, a sentence, a whole sentence, and one at a time. It's sort of in order. A data download is like in an instant, in a flash, I get the whole story, the whole picture, And so this is often, for me, what my animal communications will be like. Not the whole session, but there'll be these sections where it's all of a sudden I just know everything. You know what I mean? Like I just have all of the information in a flash, and it isn't the time that it takes me 10 times as long to say what I just got, like it comes in a flash, and then I have to explain it to the client and say, yeah, well, this is what your cat is telling me. This is how she feels about this, and this is what's going on, and this is why it bothers her. It takes a while, but it's a data download. And I've noticed that that's one of the signs that it's from the animal, because it's not the same as human communication style. Like you and I can have a conversation, which is lovely, but it's not data download. It's not where it's like I suddenly know everything. You know what I mean?
Right. So do you, are you available for readings?
Yes, I do readings. I do. Yes. So on my website, thehumanimalconnection.org, you can book a consultation, or actually you can email me to book it, but you can find out about my sessions.
Awesome.
So I do sessions by Zoom all over the world. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And also, do you, I will highlight your book because it's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I got the Kindle version, or I should have gotten the hardback because should have held it up, but I can do that when I edit. But
okay.
I got the Kindle version and the audio because I just every resource I wanted to have
Yeah.
them in.
Yes, and I also have a podcast. It's called The Human Animal Connection. It's on Pet Life Radio, so people can also hear more about that.
Pet
Yeah.
Life Radio. I'll make sure to have that in the show notes.
Yeah.
And oh, that's lovely. Now, about classes.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have some standalone that are
Yes,
pre-recorded?
I do. I have a couple of, I have one on Could My Dog Be a Therapy Dog, which is on my website.
Hmm.
And I have one on canine nutrition, making homemade dog food. And I have one called The Heart and Soul of Animals, which is kind of what we've been doing here,
Yeah.
helping people get started with trusting their intuition, knowing how to go inward, how to get peaceful, how to listen with your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's called The Heart and Soul of Animals, and that's also on my website. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for letting us know all of that. Because that's the first thing I always want to do is I want to experience what you've experienced.
mm-hmm.
You know, now I've had flashes because I've been studying it. I've had flashes, but they're so rare, I must say, that I'm thinking I'm getting in my own way because I can be emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to put that on an animal, that
Mm-hmm.
weight on an animal, and make
Mm-hmm.
decisions for that animal
Mm-hmm.
through my emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very nervous about going forward, but I still study it, still
Yeah.
try it.
Well, this is like learning a new language,
Mhm.
to be able to talk to animals. So it takes time and commitment. Even though it's natural, it takes time to, because we're human and it's natural to think. It's natural. Our default is to think, and so it does take time to learn how to tune your frequency to an animal's wavelength.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to remember to do it more often and not,
Yeah.
yeah, have it more of a priority.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been so fun,
Oh,
Jeannie.
good.
I
Yeah.
don't want to take up any more of your time, but I got to tell you that this has been wonderful. And so if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please go to her website, Jeannie's website, see what she has. Remember that there's some fundraisers going on. Probably we're in the holiday season now, but if you're hearing this, next year sometime, there's still, it's an organization that needs your help because you do a lot for our service people, for
Oh,
service
thank you.
men and women,
Thank you.
and we need to make sure you're happy and feeling safe financially. so
That
you
would be
can,
nice. We would
so you can
appreciate
carry
that.
on,
We would
carry
love
on with
that.
well, I'd love to have you back if you would
Yeah,
consider it. And
absolutely.
so thank you so much. And thank you everyone who has tuned in today and watched all the way to the end. Really appreciate that.
I just want to invite your wonderful listeners to go to our website and get some free gifts. So you can go to thehumananimalconnection.org, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and you'll see there are several free gifts, and you can choose whichever one you like or all of them.
I love that. How generous.
Yeah.
That is so wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of action on that on that website,
Yeah.
for sure. And until next time, everyone here, thank you so much for coming in. And until next time, remember, don't talk badly about yourself to yourself in your mind, because I like you and I would love for you to like you too. And you've always got a community here with love and heart. So peace be with you. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you, Deborah.